All right, what up, everybody? Welcome to another thoughtfully stimulating episode of Every Last Record, a music club for the purposeful musical listener. I'm your host, Noel, and with me today we have Zeus.
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Zeus, the host of today's episode.
Flo.
What's good, everybody?
Marcus.
You're
Paris.
Yo, it's Paris Haven.
Harley.
What's up, y'all? It's Harley.
And Joelle.
What's good, friends?
And today we are listening to Voodoo by D'Angelo, and Matt will be leading the discussion. Matt, please take it away.
So, all right, so what's going on, everybody? So today we're here to talk about one of the greatest R&B and honestly albums of all time. But I wanted to start off with an icebreaker to kind of get the conversation going. So I'd like to ask all of you, what's your favorite piece of art or media that has gone against conventions or has broken tradition?
So I don't know if y'all have been to like any museums lately, but I think last year in January, the first Black American exhibit in the Guggenheim was showcased for like the entire year of last year, going all the way up into January. So I've been there maybe about like 3 or 4 times. So like its existence in the Guggenheim, which is obviously like German, right, is in and of itself amazing. And then to be so authentically Black, right? So there's a lot of stuff in there about just like real like Black experiences, right? Like cocoa butter, right? The experience of being a Black father, right? There's also intersectionality. He also has like a Middle Eastern wife, so obviously dealing with like being a father, being a father of a biracial son, being in a biracial relationship. So there's a lot of elements to that whole exhibit that is just in and of itself contrasting within the space, right? Not to mention the Guggenheim is in the Upper East Side. So when I went every single time, there were people that I knew for a fact like were connecting to it on an art level, but not necessarily like a soul level, right? Which also had like a very interesting juxtaposition. Like I had to check myself a little bit because I was like, there's a lot of white people and it's an all Black exhibit and I'm feeling things and I'm watching people watch me as I'm a part of the exhibit. So I was like, this is real interesting. But I'm happy for anybody that did get a chance. But yeah, Rashad Johnson, it's called A Poem for Deep Thinkers. Like I would say follow him on Instagram. Like he's an incredible artist.
I would have to say, I don't have a specific thing, but as a whole, I'll probably have to say graffiti.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
No, that's such a good one, bro.
Because it's you could see like murals on the side of a building. You know what I mean? Or you could even just see something as simple as someone's tag. I feel like when done properly, or even if it's done in like a random spot, it's just a really dope thing to see throughout. Like, mind you, it can be a little overwhelming at times and it could make a mess of certain things, but I feel like when done the right way, graffiti can be really like, it could be fire.
And it also makes you wonder, like, how'd they get up there?
I used to think that every single time as a kid.
It'd be like there's like a 48.
As an adult, I'm like, yo.
Yeah, there's like a 48 floor building across from my office that they're still building in the Phi area, and there's like a piece of graffiti at the top of the 48th floor, and there's like, it's not even a fully built building. There's no like, it's just the side of a construction site. And I'm like, how the hell did you get up there, bro?
Had to be one of the construction workers, yo.
Oh yeah.
Even outside of your apartment, it's like pizzazz or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of like.
Yeah, Pizza Zoo.
Yeah, it says pizza.
Pizza Zoo.
Pizza Zoo. But yeah, bro, I think for me it probably have to be graffiti.
I'll follow that up because my answer was not as wholesome as I was thinking of, but Marcus, that was a great freaking answer. I was thinking earlier when Matt posed the question of the anti-hero. I wanted to get this before you guys got to it. I'll leave Paris your main one, but I'm a reference Breaking Bad. And I think it's all about perspective. Going to what Flo was saying, like, what makes graffiti versus what's a mural, like up on the wall. You know what I mean? Like, it's how you frame that picture. So it's interesting to see things in a different light. Like Breaking Bad, bringing it back to my answer. This guy's literally a piece of shit, a criminal, but like you're rooting for him because they portray it that way, or through the perspective, you kind of understand what he's going through, or like what his goals are and things like that. And things kind of just shift in that way.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Like I was thinking about even from my own question, like some shows, and I was like, I really like shows where it's like a weird kind of main character. Because Breaking Bad's so iconic now, but it's like making like a 40-year-old man the main character, and he's like such an evil person, but it's like kind of framing it so that you kind of root for him in a messed up way. That's not traditional. He's not like a typical main character hero with development. So it's like that's pretty dope. Good answer.
Yeah, I'll take it from there. Shout out to Anti-Hero. I was gonna say Sopranos as well because it was one of the original anti-heroes. But I actually have another like opinion I want to give, which is hip hop. I think hip hop in general, and shout out to this album, which is heavily influenced by it. But we're talking about the popularization of hip hop. Obviously, it was done early on in the '60s by like the last poets, spoken word. In 1973, that's when you had the block parties, you had the parties, or DJ Kool Herc and everybody. But 1979, Rapper's Delight, which literally sampled a disco track. And that time it was kind of shunned. Like a lot of people, traditionalists, like hated it. They didn't understand that you could like have poetry over music. And back in the days, it used to just be like singing, like whether it be rock, whether it be soul, R&B, or even gospel. Like singing was like the only thing that a lot of artists did, like musicians did. So starting in the early '80s, you had a lot of like pop artists and like rockers that I'm talking about, like Blondie. They would incorporate hip hop and like poetry into their songs, whether it be like a small break and like the in a bridge or something like that, which then would follow into like gangster rap, conscious rap. And even in the late '80s, early '90s, hip hop faced like it faced the backlash from R&B heads, like, and that birthed New Jack Swing. And then in the late '90s, you had like the commercialization of hip hop, where people thought it was getting diluted. Then you had artists like Mos Def, you had even D'Angelo, all the Soulquarians. They used like parts of hip hop to like push it in a conscious way that was carried on by the likes of Kanye West. And then you think about Kanye, and I'll end it at this point, but 2007 he lost his mom, and then 2008 he could have just continued his pop dominance in rap. Instead, he just goes full left swing with synth pop, and he put it down for like doing an 808s and Heartbreak album, which then influenced tons of current hip hop artists to continue using auto tune and also having some singing. And it's funny, it's ironic almost that the same people that would shun hip hop, now hip hop artists are using R&B, or they're using like singing in their raps. So Kanye, hip hop in general is my answer. So
Joel, I'll let you go before I go.
Okay, thank you. I will say, I think art that breaks conventionality, and I think holds a lot of weight, similar to a lot of what you guys are saying. I'll call on the work of Wangechi Mutu. She's a contemporary artist. She makes like these kind of like collage looking paintings and sculptures and like different mediums of the female body, and a few other things, but we'll mostly see a lot of the female body. And her work is like deeply political, about how the female body like carries the marks, language, and nuances of their culture. Anything that is desired or despised is always placed on the female body. That's a direct quote from Wangechi Mutu. And I love the way that her art makes you question reality, makes you question how the work that she's creating reflects directly back to something that is existing in society, and how that might be negatively affecting a particular class of people. For example, women, black women, disabled women, etc. And it's really beautiful. You guys should check it out.
Can you spell that, please?
Wangechi Mutu is Wangechi, and her last name is Mutu, Mutu. Really dope. They had this like really huge sculpture she made at the Whitney Museum. I think they might still have it, so check it.
Dope. I'm gonna check her out. All right. Well, I guess I'm last, and this might be cheating a little bit, but my example would actually be the album we're talking about, Voodoo. I'm not gonna lie, like tying it into the question, like this entire album is kind of going against convention, and I learned a lot more about it before this session than I even knew about it initially, because I have a better knowledge of music, especially from a production and engineering standpoint. In terms of a traditional album, right, especially in the 90s, a lot of it was like, Pro Tools, using like digital consoles and digital production to like kind of like sequence instruments, like how we hear music now. It's stuff you don't think about, but stuff is following a tempo, following a certain kind of like, rhythm that's meant to be like automated. So you don't think about it too much. The way this album was kind of structured was so kind of like free form. Most of the tracks are kind of recorded in one take in a room, not even in a booth. And it was actually recorded pretty wrong as well, as far as like typical music theory goes. The drums are usually out of sync with the guitars and the bass. Questlove famously was like, bro, how do you even play on this shit, bro? Like, the shit wrong. Lenny Kravitz couldn't even play guitar on this album because it was like, yo, like the drums are like off of the beat. Why is it like this? Very much inspired by Jay Dilla too, because Jay Dilla is a hip hop producer from the 90s, R.I.P., who famously would create entire songs, and instead of like sequencing, which is typically when you just take like a pattern and kind of like loop it, automate it, he'll play the entire song on the drum pad like straight through and with intentional mess ups just to like make it sound more human. And that was kind of the goal of this album, was to like make it sound very like human and not make it sound like a typically produced album. And like that just explains so much as to why I've always gravitated towards this album. It's kind of like breaking tradition, making things sound wrong, but it's not about like, stuff being wrong or following theory. It's about how it makes you feel. And that was kind of the goal of like the album, is like, it's not about us following music theory. It's not about us recording on, using Pro Tools to engineer the songs. It's not about us like, sequencing. People don't care about that shit. How does it make you feel? If it makes you feel good, if you like the music, that's all that matters. And that's what music is important. That's what makes music important to us in general. Like, people don't go into a song like, oh man, I hope the guitar licks, or following every 16th of the bar. You're not looking for all that. It's like, yo, is the song good or not? Does it give me memories? Does it make me want to get up and dance or not? And that's something that sometimes can be a little bit lost in the modern music landscape, and even lost throughout history. So like, music being a feeling is all it's about. So yeah, that's my cheating answer. But I genuinely like, that's the most going against convention album I could think about in terms of like the recent stuff I've been listening to.
That's beautiful.
I appreciate it. I guess that's a direct segue into some background on the album. And so right now we're about to get into the lore segment, and I got some lore for y'all that's gonna tie a lot into the music we're gonna be discussing. So let me cook a little bit. Voodoo by D'Angelo. Who is D'Angelo? D'Angelo is Michael Eugene Archer, who was born in the South Side area of Richmond, Virginia on February 11th, 1974. He grew up in a Pentecostal family, played piano at the church where his father was a preacher. And, he played a lot of instruments even when he was younger. Fast forward, a bunch of different music groups he created, and being a rapper in one of them, which is how he was initially discovered. He dropped his first project, Brown Sugar, which y'all should go check out, a lot earlier, 1995. He was about 21. Classic record, by the way. He, by making that album, was dubbed the father of neo soul. And now, granted, neo soul was kind of a newer sound in the 90s. It wasn't necessarily defined by a particular artist. And, it's too much credit to say that he created every single thing on Brown Sugar and what neo soul was from scratch. But he's the first person to actually like craft that genre and put it on like one single album, and for that to be tied to a single artist. So all neo soul afterwards comes from D'Angelo's DNA, which is a dope thing for a 21-year-old to create. He also got a lot of recognition because D'Angelo's the one that gave a nod to upcoming artists at the time, which were Erykah Badu, Maxwell, and Lauryn Hill herself, Miss Lauryn Hill. But yeah, following Brown Sugar, D'Angelo was kind of stuck with writer's block for like years. He didn't have anything he wanted to talk about, anything he wanted to write about, despite such an acclaimed album. And he decided the best thing to do is to live. I just gotta live life a little bit and let life inspire me to write. And him having his firstborn son, which I believe was in 1998, which was Michael Archer Jr. That was his first time to really be like inspired to actually write some new music. The album was recorded between 1997 and 1999 in Electric Lady Studios, one of the most famous studios in New York City and in general. And it was recorded with a large lineup of musicians called the Soulquarians. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Soulquarians are a music group, a super group that consists of Erykah Badu, Bilal, Common, Roy Hargrove, Talib Kweli, Mos Def, Questlove, Q-Tip, Jay Dilla, and D'Angelo himself, as well as a few others.
Real quick, have they ever dropped a project?
No.
No, that's a.
But
It was
more
crazy
going on tour
collective than like an actual group. It was like a collective.
they were going to create like a collective.
It's almost like a every last record kind of thing, but with musicians. I mean,
And-
I wish we could play music. But we could talk about it though.
I mean, honestly, speaking of every last record, this soul group, which was kind of a modern day Black Renaissance, as Questlove called it, was responsible for albums like Things Fall Apart by The Roots, Mama's Gun by Erykah Badu, Black on Both Sides by Mos Def, Like Water for Chocolate by Common, and Voodoo by D'Angelo. So they were essentially like a bunch of creatives in Electric Lady Studios for 4 years, just like creating mad music in different rooms. They would borrow songs from each other. They would be jamming out for hours. Sometimes it'll be like, yo, let me get that record right there. No, I want that record. And they created like, no joke, like 8 classics, like in nonstop succession. It was kind of crazy. And they were all contributing to each other's albums. So it was I can only imagine how great those sessions must have been. But yeah, this album was partly inspired by the disappointed state D'Angelo had for contemporary R&B at the time, which he called a joke. He felt that it was like way too club centric. There wasn't enough soul, wasn't enough honestly, you can kind of say the same thing about R&B today. He's quoted as saying, "The funny thing about it is that the people making this shit are dead serious about the stuff they're making. It's sad. They've turned black music into a club thing." And I can see where he's coming from, because he pays a lot of respect to the people who came before him, like the Marvin Gayes and the Stevie Wonders. Like that was like his Bible for music.
Yo, D'Angelo would have loved Sinners. I'm not gonna hold you. Like now that I think about it, like
Probably
the music
would've, yeah.
aspect of Sinners.
Oh, yeah.
He would have loved that movie.
Oh yeah, that's so D'Angelo coded, and yeah, and you can see so much of his DNA in modern music. Honestly, like it's a beautiful thing. Digging into some lore tidbits. Drummer and producer Questlove was essentially what D'Angelo called his co-pilot for the Voodoo sessions. Essentially, him and Questlove and the crew studied bootleg videotapes of classic R&B artists such as Marvin Gaye, James Brown, Jimi Hendrix, and reruns of Soul Train. And pretty much what they would do is they would watch a tape and they would try to play the artist's whole discography, and they would just jam out. And then sometimes it'll be like they'll record everything they did, and then they'll be like, "Wait, hold on, that was dope. Wait, can you wind that back?" And they would just create something from there. They created the song Africa because they were jamming out to Parade by Prince, and then they just naturally got into Africa, and that's so dope to just be that talented where everybody's playing instruments and you can just create brand new songs on the spot. And as I said, a lot of the songs were created in the room, not in the booth. Somebody just had the recorder playing and they would just record it in one take naturally, and that's why it sounds so raw.
That's why chemistry is important.
Yeah,
I
man.
mean, you could feed off of the other person, especially when it comes to musicians. I've been in rooms with musicians that just are monsters, and the way that they can just pick up by just naturally having chemistry with another person, you know, just pick up off of their energy and just they play something that they think is fire and add their touch to it. Music is beautiful in that way.
And that's how Prince recorded a lot of his music too, which is one of D'Angelo's biggest idols. Prince would just Purple Rain was essentially like a jam session. One of the greatest songs of all time. That's how people used to do it back in the day.
Yeah, it's a big, especially soul and funk tradition, to record things that way. My friend was telling me how they only used this one overhead mic to record the album and would just do a bunch of takes of it. And that's how they, I guess, get the different levels. And I thought that was really interesting.
I was gonna say I'm such a lover of live music. To Flo's point is just people vibing together, that chemistry. it's electric, and you can feel it when like everything is like right in the room. That energy does not lie, and I think that's the most beautiful part about music, and that's why I'm such a lover of music. That's kind of, I'm just gonna go into the first impressions if you guys don't mind. I don't know if you have more.
No, I was just gonna say that, keep in mind when you're thinking about the songs, like D'Angelo played most of the instruments on the album. Like he played like the drums, the guitar, the keyboards, percussion. Like he actually, a lot of the keyboard work was done on a keyboard and organ owned by Stevie Wonder. That Stevie Wonder actually used for Talking Book in 1972. He literally dusted it off and used Stevie Wonder's old keyboard. So that ties into him like channeling, his forefathers into the music. But yeah, guys, let me hear your first impressions. And also, like, when you give your first impressions, let me know if this is your first time hearing this, or if this is something you're revisiting, because I actually am curious.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna go into to finish my thought. It felt like, I love when music feels like you're in the room with it, right? Like when it's like alive, and it's not just like this pre-recorded formula, or like this song goes here, or whatever. That's how I felt off of first listen. I grew up a little bit differently than most of you guys. I didn't grow up with like R&B being a staple in my household.
What do you mean by you guys? Let me stop.
I'm dead.
Yeah, that's funny. So I grew up in the DR, right? So the R&B was not obviously like bumping everywhere. So a lot of these songs I've kind of educated myself to through adulthood, right? And like after I've gotten more into music myself and more into like listening to different things. So like I had heard obviously D'Angelo songs, I've heard Brown Sugar, and I'd heard like a bunch of others. And it's always been a vibe, but I never like actually sat down and listened to it fully through. So like this was my first time listening to Voodoo like fully through. And again, like my take was like, yo, this feels alive. Like I feel like I'm here, like, like to be a fly in that room must have been like amazing. Like this would have been the greatest like live show ever. Yes. So yeah, man, I just felt like I was kind of floating the whole time, just had nodding the whole time. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
And that was the point too, to make you feel like you in there with them. That's why they recorded like in a room and recorded so rough and on old equipment, just to make you feel like you there with them, which I think he really accomplished.
Vibes are immaculate.
I'm going to release the question that I wanted to ask you.
Ooh, finally.
Did you draw any comparisons to Dijon?
Actually, I thought about that because it's the same sentiment, right? It's the same,
yeah.
You feel like you're in the room with it. Kind of, but a little bit differently, because Dijon felt like chaotic. Or we're talking about Absolutely by Dijon, which we reviewed earlier last year. That album felt purposely chaotic. This one felt more purposely like getting into a groove. I don't know if that makes sense. So like, I love both albums. Both are kind of two different sides of the like being a fly in the room.
Yeah.
So this one feels like I'm at a concert, or like I'm with people. Yeah. Like, the other one felt like, hey, let's see what comes out. Like, session.
Where I'll go. This isn't my first time hearing it, but it's the first time hearing it in a long time. Because the last time I listened to it all the way through was when Black Messiah came out, when he dropped D'Angelo and the Vanguard, when they dropped Black Messiah. That was 2014, I think. So 12 years ago. And it was just such an enjoyable listen. Like this is raw music at its finest, especially when it comes to like R&B and neo soul. Like there's few collectively who can come together and make this type of quality music, in my opinion. And just having the people who are with him, D'Angelo in himself is incredible. Vocally, as a percussionist, instrumentals, everything. Like he's just very well versed in his musical composing. But then to have Questlove and all of those people who were involved in it was just I was vibing every song. There's not a bad song on here. There's not a bad song on the album, in my opinion. So yeah, when I came back to it, and after having not listened to it for so long, it was definitely very, very enjoyable, and it meant a little bit more now that he's passed. R.I.P. D'Angelo. So it meant a little bit more to like really hear him. This album was pivotal for him, I feel like, because when Brown Sugar came out, like that's what took him off, but then like life hit him. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he, like you had mentioned before, he got writer's block, and that happens to a lot of creatives, believe it or not, whether you're a musician or just doing anything in general. You hit a wall sometimes, and you just got to live your life and find inspiration in other places. And so it birthed that. You know what I mean? Like, this is the product of life for D'Angelo. So I thought that was really dope too.
It's also a sophomore album, like another sophomore album. Like, I was having a conversation with like my coworker today, and he was like, it's something about sophomore albums, right? Like they maybe conform a little bit because there's so much expectations around coming out with the first project that once you get that first album out, it's like, all right, you know what? Like, even whether it was received well or not, you end up kind of reflecting and figuring out what type of music that you really want to make, just because the pressure is no longer there, right? So you could kind of return back to like homeostasis a little bit.
I kind of want to challenge that a little bit, because I feel like, if anything, the stakes are higher for a sophomore album, because it's like, yeah, you did it once, but can you do that again? Like, it's the make or break for like, are you a one-hit wonder or are you gonna be a star? So like, I don't know. It's tricky. I don't know how to.
This is where like the music industry kind of gets involved a little bit, right? Like, if I'm a betting person, if I'm investing money into an artist, right, I probably don't want to risk their. How can I say this? I don't want to risk the album flopping. So what I might do is I might conform. I might request that the artist conform a little bit with what's being played right now, because I know that it's gonna get spins. Right. Whereas like, if I'm an artist, I may not want that as much, but they're also the people signing me. So I guess I have to. Right. And then once you kind of see where that goes, they may give you a little break. Like, all right, you know what? We're going to give you like another album, or we already gave you another album. You already have a following. All right. No, do you like, we trust you now. Like, the first album sold, you're good. Right. Now you have your following.
You know what's crazy though? In terms of this one, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the label wasn't 100% like confident that he would deliver like a
I was
great
gonna
album.
say,
Like, they weren't really confident, and I think the only reason why I got pushed through was because EMI, his first label, like it kind of shut down in the middle of him like recording this, so that's why he had to put it on Virgin Records. But I think I did read that they were not confident in this, and it's funny because I think one of his label mates, which is Radiohead with OK Computer, they also weren't very confident in their album as well. But both of these albums, and I believe they came out in the same year, winded up defining not only like their respective genres, but just music in general. So I believe that, I always say the sophomore albums in general are kind of like the coming of age for artists.
Yeah.
Like, that's when they finally have, one, more creative control, but two, I feel like they're able to shine and give it what they want versus what the labels want. Because I feel like with debuts, there's a lot of manipulation. They get like that big hit, have all these features, and
it's a money grab.
It's a money grab. Like, that's why I always say like debut albums for a lot of artists in like the 2010s and like late 2000s. They were just like money grabs. They were kind of just like, okay, we need hits. Like, we need to make sure this investment is going to take us to the next level. So in terms of D'Angelo, I think again they were like, all right, he's talking about all these things, like these sessions are all loose, and there's like a lot more experimentation here. Like, I don't know if this is going to be worth the investment. So they're kind of doubting him a little bit, but obviously he proved them wrong.
All for him to go number one.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Number one, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think that kind of paradigm kind of changes for independent artists? Like, let's say you're independent fully, your first project.
I say yes, because with a lot of independent artists, you might not have the same budget for the first album that you did for the second album. So you might have more resources that you didn't have prior. You know what I mean? So like, you put out something with your first album and you're like, this is really me. I'm going to give it everything I have because this is all that I have. But now you might have different backing. So things might change for that second album, and you might have more, but now there might be label involvement or something like that if you get signed. So now your music might change a little bit. I mean, it can go a lot of different
directions.
Like
chance.
That sounds like it's a chance.
Yeah, we You see it a lot, but that's just the reality of it. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's crazy, like the way Marcus kind of like hit the nail on the head with like the two different points of view. That's exactly what happened. Like literally, and I wasn't gonna really get into it, but like, yeah, they had no faith in this album once he got under the new management, because one, like, keep in mind he spent like 3 years recording this album with a bunch of live instruments. He like flew in very famous guitar and bass players to play on this album. And imagine what 3 years of budget is gonna do. He ran the budget all the way up. And then by the point they went under new management, it's like, yo, bro, we're not your old bosses, you know what I'm saying? Like, where the hits at? And they put out a few hits too that didn't take. Like, I know that we love the album and everything. At least I think everybody does. But like, but like they tried to put out Left and Right, and it didn't do well. What was the other one? Devil's Pie, which is one of my favorite songs. Spoilers. That was the first single. It didn't do well. The only song that did well was How Does It Feel? You know, for obvious reasons we might get into later. And they were accepting the fact that they were going to lose money on this album. It surprised them that the album did so well, did as well as it did. It like went like double platinum in its first year and stuff. And like, but like it wasn't a traditional, as Paris was saying, it wasn't a traditional, like in the American market, like an album kind of landscape. Like back then, it was very much about the singles. I think me and Noel had a conversation the other day. Like back then, if you want to hear like 2 songs, you got to buy the whole album.
That's a fact.
That's like the way they marketed it. It wasn't like I'm gonna make a whole body of work top to bottom. It was like, damn, I like that. How Does It Feel song? I'm gonna buy the whole album off of it. Yeah. Like, and that's there was no streaming, so it was a different landscape. People weren't going into like I'm gonna want to hear an intro and outro and to be sequenced and follow a concept. Yeah. That was weird to do. So D'Angelo was kind of like not marketing himself like super mainstream in that way, but it worked out.
Yeah, you know,
it's interesting.
Go ahead. Ladies first. It's National Women's History Month. Go ahead.
Period. It's interesting because that's part of that aspect of it. What shaped a lot of how this album was received and seen by the public. While of course, like there was pressure from the label. Of course, all labels, they're the money and business side of things. They want things delivered. There was a sense of autonomy that they ultimately like had. It wasn't like, it was just like no choice. They had to let D'Angelo and Soulquarians kind of like rock because of how the kind of buzz that Neo Soul and the artist that D'Angelo was working with were getting at that time. So basically their own too, and how they created a name for themselves, the kind of music that they were making, the kind of attention that they were generating from their fans, created a pressure against the very aggressive system that is the business side of the music industry, which is your label. So that space, that flexibility that was created allowed D'Angelo to take more time than, you know, a label would maybe usually want to allow for you to finish like your sophomore album when they're eager, especially after Brown Sugar did so well, you know. And so when they eventually put this out, one of the things that they were pressuring D'Angelo about was like making that music video for Untitled. Like, I don't think that he didn't want to make it. I think that he didn't really want to make it like as much of like a sex symbol.
Yeah, it's meant to be vulnerable. It's meant to be like, yeah.
And so in that promo, right, like the business side is like, hey, we need a video because the people are going to be able to see it on MTV, and like that's going to be the promotion side.
Oh,
and
they
so
got a
everybody,
video,
they got the best video. Okay, I was like 5 years old watching this shit live, and I remember like saying to my dad in Spanish, "El está en pelota." I was like, "Dad, he's naked, like on TV." This is, well, I won't say that. Well, we'll skip that part. I had never really seen naked bodies on a TV before, but then after that, I discovered that after a certain hour on the TV, you can see naked bodies. And it all felt, you know, like it all made sense. But I just thought it was quite interesting that D'Angelo was like, I didn't really fuck with the fact that everybody kind of started seeing me as a sex symbol, or like seeing me in this light when this is not really the kind of vision that I was creating for this album. But it's kind of beautiful because I feel like out of that context of that particular time, history continues to have very different significance. And so like I don't think people see it like that anymore. I think everybody knows that D'Angelo was fine as fuck. Period.
Here we are.
But I don't think
He wouldn't like
that. Well,
I'm kidding. Maybe now. Maybe.
if you but I think that people also see it for so much more than it was. And with that, I'll give my impressions of the album. I absolutely love this album. It's not my first time listening to it. I've listened to it before fully. And like just at the beginning at the end of last year, I was like really listening to D'Angelo's discography. And this album, I'm a singer, like I'm a medium singer, but I really love singing and I've been singing for a really long time.
You a singer. If you like to sing, you a singer, in the words of Lauryn Hill.
And period. And I'm proud of being a medium singer, you know, because we have our role. We're very important. You know, we hold things together. And so I feel like listening to the insane like chords that D'Angelo has on this album, I listen to it and I try to recreate it with my voice, whether it's like a riff on like the bass riff, or it's like some crazy shit that he's doing on the piano, or it's like the timing that he's taking with how he's playing the music, how he's playing the guitar against how the drums are coming in. Like it actually creates a lot of space for you to find your own rhythm in the music, and you can start riffing and stuff like that. So I've learned a lot about my own voice through this album. And every time that I listen to it and I try to sing it, one, it's very difficult to follow the timing. I still have a really hard time with that, but it actually like has helped me like learn a lot about tempo and about grooves and about riffs and rhythms. And I love that. So this is an album that you can listen to over and over and find something new that you really love.
I'll take it. So I agree with I can relate to what Flo said in terms of like the time he heard it. I heard it in 2014, I believe, after kind of the rollout for the Black Messiah album. Everybody was raving about D'Angelo, and he hadn't dropped an album in like 14 years. So I was like, let me check this out. That album's fantastic. And then I went back and listened to his discography. Obviously, growing up in a black household, like we all listen to the classic R&B artists. Like we all listen to it. So one of the things I'll say is that I think growing up, I didn't really listen to the neo soul guys in terms of like what my family would play. They would play the traditional like music from the 80s and 70s, and then like the more mainstream artists like Drew Hill and Redacted, because I'm not gonna say his name, but but I feel like those are the people that when Matt said the quote about the club music, I believe he was referring to those artists, if I'm not mistaken. So that was who I grew up listening to. And then obviously in college, I listened to the Soulquarians, tapped into Common's discography. Obviously, I love Q-Tip's Amplified, Mama's Gun, and all of those albums. So then I listened to Voodoo back then, like I want to say like 2015, 2016 in full. And yeah, I was blown away. I think everybody said it here, like the analog of the way that the album's made through analog and live instruments. It really does feel like a good jam session that you're on the fly and the wall for. Like it's almost spiritual to me. Like the tracks just, they don't feel like they're dragging out too long. There's some songs on here that go well beyond 7 minutes, and they just feel like 2 minutes long because you're just in the zone and you're enjoying it. It doesn't feel like a chore to get through. And to be honest with you, it's so hard to describe how I feel about this album in words. Like really, I just put that shit on and I just feel like I'm floating. Like that's how this album makes me feel. Like it gives me joy listening to this album. Like I feel at peace when I listen to these songs. So I was hurt to hear that D'Angelo passed away, man, because this album has got me through a lot. It got me through obviously like young adulthood. It got me through COVID. It got me through the current state of the world. So like this is an album that really just hits me hard, and D'Angelo in general, like one of the greatest to ever do it. So this album means a lot to me. And yeah.
That was very beautifully put. All right, so I guess I'd go with my first impressions. So yeah, so this isn't my first time hearing this album. But when I first heard it, I didn't really get it. But I did get it. Like all I know is that like, man, this is a really good vibe. I feel really good about this. But I heard this at a time where I used to really investigate and deep dive on albums when I was like, especially like in my early 20s. I wanted to learn about the lyrics, the background. And I felt like this album was so dense that like it kind of like scared me away a little bit. I was like, I just like the way it sounds. I don't know all the deep stuff to it. I didn't like revisit this album like and appreciate it as much until I got older. And like honestly, once I hit like 29, 30, it like really like I was like, yo, this is my entire personality now. I listen to Voodoo. Like that's pretty much, I play this in the morning. Like I play this like to like feel good about myself. Like it just feels like grown folk music to me now. And like that's the best way I could describe it. This album is like a really big comfort album for me. It just like feels like a warm hug every time I revisit it. I feel like I learned so much about music when I like dove into this album like years ago. And even to this day, I feel like I learned so much about this. He's such a mastercraft of his work. Like every time I go back to it, I'm like, wow, that's a beautiful bass line. I'm like, wow, the drums really are a little bit off. Or like, man, he's playing all the instruments. God damn. Like, it's just like, I feel like every time I revisit this, it's like a new experience. And it's the fact that this came out 26 years ago at this time and was made by a man that was like in his like mid 20s. I remember I was doing my mid 20s. I wasn't making Voodoo. So this is like very impressive. Like to make something this conceptual, this.
You were not making Voodoo. That's true.
I was not making Voodoo. I was not.
You weren't doing shit, bro. Damn.
Damn. No, I really wasn't. How you really feel?
You weren't doing shit.
You were busy making brown sugar. Wasn't making no Voodoo. But yeah, man, like beautiful album. Like it's such an incredible vibe, and it's really like a piece of history in music form. And yeah, I love it. It made me dive into Stevie Wonder. It made me dive into like Marvin Gaye. It made me dive into James Brown. It made me just go into all the people that were like his influences on this album. I wanted to track everybody that inspired this album when I like, you know, back then. And so like, yeah, I owe a lot to this album. But yeah, let's get into some everybody's favorite tracks. I'm sure, you know, granted it's a pretty long album, and like, you know, if you have like a bunch, by all means. But you know, what are your favorite tracks?
I can go first. I will say my favorite song on this album. I'm gonna give my top 3. It's very difficult. This is very interesting because I remember I sent you guys a question in the chat that none of you guys answered. I loved that. It was great. When I sent you guys the Closer I Get to You, I was like, okay, Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway or Luther Vandross and Beyonce. Personally, I love the Luther Vandross and Beyonce version of that song more, and I think similarly I really Feel Like Making Love, D'Angelo's version over Roberta Flack's. I love Roberta Flack, but there's something about the way that vocals, their melody and groove was evolving with the fusion around this time that is just peak for me as like somebody who just really enjoys singers. And Feel Like Making Love is just excellent. The way that his riffs, his vocal inflections, the way he plays with time with his singing along with the instruments, like, is just genius. And then I will say Send It On, because of course. And then the line, I think he played bass there. It wasn't Palladino. And the bass line on the line is insane. Like every time I hear that, it's just so nasty. I have to like bop my head. So those are my top 3 for sure.
I just want to say about Feel Like Making Love. You know that track was supposed to have Lauryn Hill on it? It's supposed to be a Lauryn Hill duet.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be like
That makes me so mad. I don't even want to hear that.
I'm so mad, bro. Like
wait, Feel Like Making Love was supposed to be Lauryn Hill?
Yes, they were FedEx mailing each other's like vocals back and forth, but there were so many middlemen and like stuff got lost in the mail that it was just like, he gonna do it himself.
I'm not gonna lie, I cannot imagine that song anything like not being exactly what it is. Like I might cry.
Yeah, like it works for what it is because it's an incredible song. But man, imagine Lauryn Hill, man.
What could have been?
Wait, all right. I'm gonna go real quick. I mean, track 2. When I first heard this album, I could not leave track 2. Is Devil's Pot, baby. I got to do the Knowledge Shades on right now because it was on the Belly soundtrack, and that's how I discovered it first. But that's my theme song. If there's if there's a theme song to my life, it's Devil's Pot, man. That boom bap mixed with the R&B, like that's my type of music right there.
Produced by DJ Premier.
Shout out to DJ Primo, baby. So that's one of my favorite songs. I got that on my Instagram where they allow you to put music on your profile. But that's been my Instagram theme song for like a year now. I also love Left and Right. I just want to shout that out like real quick. It's actually Q-Tip was supposed to be featured on that, but it's funny because they all thought his verse or like his performance was not good. So
No, his manager said it was whack. You gotta say that. They said it was whack.
I can't do that to the brother Q-Tip, man. But yes, they did say it was whack. So they replaced him with Redman and Method Man, an underrated ass duo who at that time dropped one of the greatest rap collab albums, Blackout. So I had to shout that out. But my other two are actually Spanish joint. I love the grooves on that thing. I play that like when I just need to focus on something. I just love, again, like the groove of that. And then finally, I love Great Day and Morning, the medley. And then the reason why I love that song, Slash Booty. Sorry, it's Slash Booty. The reason why
don't forget the booty.
Can't forget. Damn, yeah. Now the reason why I love that song is because, like, again, to go back to the whole point of like what D'Angelo was saying about his the people that he looked up to, like the Marvin Gayes, the Sly Stones, and all those artists. Like, I feel like as an artist, like it's great to make yearning music, but it's also great to make like conscious music too. Like I think music is gonna speak to the everyday person, because that's what that song is about. Like you're gonna go through bad shit, you're gonna go through whatever, but you're gonna have a great day. You gotta look at the positives. So that's why I love R&B songs that have to deal with the human emotions other than just love and lust and yearning. So that's one of the reasons why I love D'Angelo too, because he's more than just a love like R&B artist. Like he's conscious, and that's one of the reasons why I love him too. So those are the three. And Joelle, you said The Line, so that's like my actual second favorite song. But
this shit goes crazy, like.
Yeah, I got it. Let me. So I think that funny enough, like I know of D'Angelo's music, so like I kind of wanted to listen to it in a different way rather than like its entirety. So what I ended up doing, like, and we spoke about this like on Friday about how like we all listen to music. I listen to music like very chaotically, so I just put like a medley of like all of D'Angelo's songs and people that sound like him. And the first song that actually caught my attention was a very like non-D'Angelo song. I don't know if this would be considered, but Left and Right is like a very non-D'Angelo song. Yes. So when I heard Method Man and Redman and D'Angelo, I was like, all right, now is the time for me to like listen to the album. So like that was the first song I heard. And then as I'm listening to it in its entirety, the song that stood up was The Line. Right. I love the messaging. Like the messaging kind of hit me before. Not before the musicianship. I already knew it was going to be very high vibrations of an album. But when I heard the lyrics behind it, I was like, all right, cool. Like all the resistance that we've talked about thus far in the podcast, it hits in The Line, right? Like him having a battle with just resistance as far as him just trying to make music amongst external influences. And then for him to go into Send It On, which I don't know about y'all, like that's an incredibly spiritual song about loving a girl, loving God, and like that's how I saw the song. So The Line, Send It On, and then How Does It Feel for me is probably one of the greatest R&B songs of all time, right? And what made me get to that conclusion was basically like a lot of my other favorite R&B songs, like top favorite R&B songs, takes that template, right? So if we're talking about, you mentioned like the D'Angelo tree, like people who sound like him, Daniel Caesar, right? Japanese Denim is an exact like rip-off. I don't want to say rip-off, but it's heavily influenced
inspired,
by it starts off with the drum click, right? And then it goes right into the song. And then like my favorite R&B song of all time is Sometimes I Cry by Eric Benet, which is the same exact opening, right? So I was like, that's the template that I love about R&B, right? So that right there is like, that's probably one of my favorite songs of all time. But yeah, How Does It Feel, Send It On, and The Line, sure.
You know what's crazy about, I mean, I said this before, but I think every album has like a point it builds up to. And I think How Does It Feel is definitely like that point for a lot of people. But like I'm a big fan of that song, one, because it was like an homage to Prince. And like the way he treated music wasn't like, you know, everybody's sampling in the 90s, blah blah blah. I want to like pay homage. I want to use their equipment, use, you know, their recording style, and I want to make songs that sound like them, not like taking a song they did or taking a bass line they did and stuff. And so that's like a Prince song essentially, but like it's his own. And what I love the most about that song is like the way it ends up abruptly. And again, speaking to their chaotic nature, they ran out of tape. Literally, they ran out of tape, and then he just like leave it like that.
It's also like what, 6-7 minutes song.
Long ass song.
That joint just stopped.
Yeah, because they weren't recording it digitally; they were recording on traditional like analog tape and equipment, and like you have a certain amount of reels. So they just ran out. It's like leave it like that, and that's such a fire way to end a song, bro. Like, just boom, that's it.
That song is, man.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
I love the like the yearning shit like that. That's me. Like that's that's
really
I like
me.
that. The shit that makes me feel like ooh, like you're just floating. Man. Like I'd love that. Like the more like visceral, like emotional reaction you can get, the better it is. And so like that's definitely like a standout track for me as well. And shout out to Prince. We've talked about Prince a lot. But
How does it feel?
you get the Prince like influence, like the spirit through there. So I think it's just greatly done. Spanish joint, I have to put that on my top 3 because it kind of, this is something that I could grasp at that feels kind of more like the styles and the music that I
Pino Palladino.
Pino Palladino.
Pino Palladino.
I love Pino. Pinot Grigio, Pinot. I like a lot of his music, and I've mentioned John Mayer again, but he plays with the John Mayer 3, and I just love the stuff that they do. Send It On, again, another one of those like floating kind of like just man. And the last one I would say is actually Playa Playa. Playa Playa is so good as an opener and as a like standalone track. I played it walking around. It's been nice this week. I played it walking around New York City, and I kind of felt like, you know, Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3 when he's like walking around dancing. Like
That's a great.
It'll do it to you. It'll do that to you.
I don't know. You just feel confident listening to that song.
Start
So
pointing at
that's
people you don't know.
doing the little like, just dry hop in the air and shit.
I could really see it.
Wait,
Definitely.
I don't know if Matt's gonna say this, but I don't know if you guys know that, but Playa Playa, obviously it's about basketball, but it was supposed to be on Space Jam.
Nah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's fire.
It got like they didn't make the Space Jam soundtrack, so just kept it as is.
That's crazy. I didn't
That's fire. That's a fire pull.
That's crazy.
I was also gonna say about like Spanish joint, because I know it's like a favorite for a lot of people. Like what made me really impressed by that song, I mean it's already impressive, but like Charlie Hunter, the guy who plays the guitar, also plays the bass, but he plays at the same time. He has like an 8-string guitar bass combo, and he plays like literally the guitar and the bass all at once at the same sequence. Like the notes kind of bleed into each other, and technically like it would usually be impossible to play that kind of song, but like he demonstrated it like live during an interview. Because I was like, well, you're not playing at 2 different times, you're playing it at the same time, like the that's all just him at once in one go. They had to like plug that one guitar bass combo unit monstrosity he got into 2 different channels, like because
Not the chimera of a string instrument.
yeah, I would never touch that.
Word. Yeah. I feel like for me, this I know we've spoke about a lot of albums so far, but I genuinely think this for me was the toughest to have like a top 3 because it changes like every time I listen to it. My number 1 favorite I will say is Untitled. How Does It Feel? That's I forgot who just said it, but I think that's one of the greatest R&B songs of all time. And it's one of my favorite R&B songs of all time for sure. But yeah, I mean, there's so many. Y'all basically said the whole album, and that's really
Literally. Yeah, literally.
and that's really what it
My
is.
favorite song is the album.
Chicken grease. Nobody mentioned chicken grease.
Oh, that's a good one. The reason why
I was going to.
I just want to make it known the reason why I didn't say Untitled is because I knew everybody was gonna say it, and also
It's okay though.
But you know what?
It's okay to play.
It's like when we did the Purple Rain episode, which you're gonna hear that, but it's one of those things. It's like everybody loves that. We all love that song. Like I wanted to hear what you guys had to say about it. Like it's one of the great. Like I agree with you, Flo. I agree with you, Marcus, and Harley too. Everybody here, like that's one of the greatest R&B songs, and because of that, Prince, the screaming and everything like that. Like I also love when music or artists sound like that. Like I love that. And then the guitar in the background too. You could tell he's a student of the game and student of the people that he studied. Yeah. And honestly, when it gets to that part, and I love what Matt says about the album always has to get to a climax or like a point that serves a purpose in the entire record, and obviously that was an excellent example of it. So I just wanted to show love to that.
Wait, what were your other favorite tracks, Lo? If you had to nail it down to 3, I'll give you an honorable mention. I'll give you an honorable 4th.
I'm telling you, it really changes every time I listen to it. Let me see if I could. I'm trying to look at the track list now. If I can.
that one.
Like Spanish Joint is up there for me. The Line is up there for me.
Yo, y'all keep saying The Line. It reminds me of Division.
No,
I was thinking.
I kept thinking about that.
Left and Right is up there for me. Like it's just. Yeah, let's just go with that for now. And tomorrow, ask me again. It'll be different the day after.
Division is also for sure D'Angelo Tree. D'Angelo Tree, absolutely.
All right, so I guess like just like Flo said, like for me it changes. Like I want you to go first. I can kind of like feel a little bit better about my answers because like it changes when I'm like even during the episode. Honestly, for me, definitely like Devil's Pie is like one of my favorite D'Angelo songs ever. Like I love everything about it. I love the way it sounds. I love the bass on it. I love it's such a lyrical song. Like for those who like are curious about Devil's Pie and just heard it sonically, like he's talking about like the temptations and like money and greed and sex and like the stuff that like kind of consumes us and brings out the worst in us, especially coming from such a religious Pentecostal man. Like that really inspired this kind of song. And like even in the second verse he talks about like main ingredients to this dish goes like this. Here's the list: materialistic, greed and lust, jealousy, envious, bread and dough, cheddar cheese, flash and cash and cream. Like he's like talk about it like it's an actual pie, and I'm just like, yo, that's the rapper in him. As I said, D'Angelo used to rap before he sang, so it's like the way he molds that together is just such a dope thing, especially on the DJ Premier beat. Like you could hear his rap roots. He did the whole rap singing thing long before it got popularized by people like like Drake and like Kanye and other people like that. Like he was really rap singing. Like you can even hear people like Anderson .Paak, like from D'Angelo Tree on some of his songs, like Chicken Grease, which I'm gonna go ahead and mention because like that's one of my favorite songs. Chicken Grease is another Prince reference because Prince used to call this like guitar lick where I think it's when you play a 16th chord, and you also play him a 9th as well. To get a little nerdy, Prince called that Chicken Grease. He's like, yo, play that Chicken Grease right there. So it's like that's like what inspired that that song, and like you can hear like so much of other artists in this, like Daniel Caesar, like Anderson .Paak. For me, I hear him on this song, like you could hear Anderson .Paak even singing. It's like I'm at the old bucket of Crisco sitting on top of the stove. Like you could hear Anderson .Paak singing that exact song if you wanted to. Like
oh my god, was that Anderson
was
.Paak?
Amazing. Okay, I want to say that was amazing.
Was so good.
Thanks.
That was really good.
Impromptu, but like yeah, Chicken Grease is one of my favorite songs. I love the guitar playing on it. And honestly, Feel Like Making Love is like one of my like comfort songs. Like it just sounds so beautiful and it's just so loving and so inviting. I'm gonna pull the Paris and not count How Does It Feel, because like bro, like that's one of the best songs ever made. I'm not gonna lie, I came to a epiphany about, because I never understood why it was called Untitled How Does It Feel. It was like, that's a title, bro. But as I like really dove into
of the entire album.
But like as I dove into this album, like I was like, and I heard him talk about it. He constantly mentions like the feel. I wanted to like this album to feel like this. I want you to feel the music, and I'm like, I kind of get it. It's like the thesis of the album. Like it's untitled. Like it's not about the title. It's about how does it feel. Like how does it make you feel? It doesn't need a title. Like how do you feel hearing this? I'm like, man, that's such a great concept. Like you wouldn't get that unless you hear him talk about it during interviews, and like. That's like the subtlety I like about like the way he creates songs, because it's all a feeling. Like you don't need to look up lyrics. Even Saul, I think his name was Saul Williams, the guy that did the album's lining notes, was like, I can't understand what this motherfucker's saying on half the songs. Like the way it's like layered and shit, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. But like I want to explore what he's talking about. You know, it's hard to hear him, but it's like it kind of makes you want to dig into it. Like, damn, this song's a vibe, but what is he saying though? And like, I like the way he does it on every song. Like his voice is an instrument, but then you dive into what he's saying, it's like, oh, this is deep. But he's like burying it intentionally. It's like gold, and that's why I love the way it's like structured.
I agree with that. It's like it's not about the vocals in this album. It felt like for me, it felt like more about the music and like the vibe that they were going for. You have to like really like tune in to like hear like actually what it is he's saying.
How does it feel? But now that we got everybody's tracks, I want to ask everybody: one, what's the replay value for you? And two, what would you rate it? What are your final thoughts on it? Real quick before I get into it, because I meant to mention it earlier, obviously this album was very well acclaimed on a professional sense. 10 out of 10 on Pitchfork, 5 out of 5 stars in USA Today. Like, it just got perfect scores all around. It's on the top 100 greatest albums of all time by Rolling Stone. Very acclaimed album in terms of the public. So I want to know what y'all feel about it. How does it make you feel? And what's your replay value?
I feel like almost, I don't know, I'm gonna just pitch this. I think we could all in unison say that the replay value of this is out of this world. Like we all will replay this shit each and every day if we could, like each and every hour, every minute.
I will.
That's me, honestly. Like it's up there. This is now my go-to if I just want to get inspired again. If I want to just feel some type of joy in my life, I'll literally throw this on. Because that's what it does for me, and I feel like all musicians, or at least all albums, should strive for that. Obviously, we're all individuals, but I feel like albums like this, as a collective, make us all happy. It makes us feel something, and I feel like it's missing in a lot of R&B these days. So that's why I love this album, and I always still think it stands the test of time. So the replay value is like 10 out of 10, 100 out of 10, 1,000 out of 10. Come on, man. RIP to GOAT. And what was the second question, brother?
Critically, like what would you rate it?
10 out of 10, 100 out of 10, 1,000 out of 10, million out of 10. You can hit that thing again. Come on now. Come on, this is one of the greatest artists of all time, man. R&B to the RIP to the GOAT again.
RIP to the GOAT.
And that was the last one. That's the last question. Or is another one?
No, that's it.
Okay, bad. 100 out of 10, a million out of 10. D'Angelo, you the GOAT. RIP, my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he said. It's a 10 out of 10. I'm not gonna keep funny about it. Like it objectively, it is so good. Like the more I like look into this album, the more I learn about it. I was reading about like chicken grease. Chicken grease is actually like very, very heavily like studied in like rhythm and like music classes. Like they pull some shit with that. Replay value is super, super, super high. Like I can play it any time of day and it feels like great. I love it when these like albums that we pick don't feel like homework. Like it feels like
say that shit again.
Like we could have gone another week on this and I would have been fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my take.
You mentioned something before about like you could play this like anywhere at any specific time. Yeah, I honestly think that you could play this in any era, right? Like if you play this now, obviously we listen to it now, it hits. I'm sure at the time I was trying to get some research on like people who listened to it when it came out. It hits. Like I think if you even put this album in a time machine and you send it back 15, 20 years, it'll be groundbreaking, but it'll still hit, right? So I think it's very black. I think there's spiritual. Yeah, it's very black. It's very groovy. I think it has like a lot of very spiritual undertones. I think it's appropriately titled Voodoo. I think the whatchamacallit, the replay value is tremendous. Like I think you could run this. This is vinyl worthy, right? This is 100% vinyl worthy. I don't know if there's any.
One day I'll own this.
Yeah, that shit probably like $10 million. Like it's probably
I will pay
a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Like, and then as far as like just the album rating, like it's unsurmountable. Like this went certified platinum. Like it's a guaranteed 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever. Yeah. Yeah. But Yeah, go ahead. Y'all can take it away.
I can share my replay value.
Please.
I'm in the middle of rehearsal. I'm in an a cappella group, and we're actually learning "Lady" a cappella by D'Angelo, and it's so fire.
That's the
We're
group
actually
replay value.
we're working on some. I know.
No, I said ask the group their replay value.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying we're working on. I thought you were saying we're doing replay value. I'm like, I know.
And what would you rate
I'm
it?
just deciding to. Yeah, I mean, 10 out of 10 on everything for me. Like the song is like, I think this is a musician's like. This is one of those albums you come back to, you really study.
Yeah.
And you come back to and try to pick up something new. I've learned a lot. I've learned how to help myself with this album. Yeah.
Yeah, man. This is a 10. It's a 10, baby.
No further words.
Not much else needs to be said. Let the music speak for itself. This is replay value. Yes. That's my answer. Yes.
Yes out of 10.
Yes out of 10.
We got to do Leo, too. Don't forget Leo.
All right, so Leo couldn't be here tonight, but he shared his thoughts, and so I'm going to share them with you. He starts by saying, many people in this community of ours frown at the state of today's popular R&B artists, a view that I thought I did not agree with. However, after listening to D'Angelo's Turn of the Millennia Voodoo, I'm viscerally awakened to what brilliance lies within the R&B genre.
Such a poet.
This album stands the testament of time and exists as a reminder that we should not tolerate the passable albums quote unquote R&B artists now release. Shout out Paris for being right about these bums today.
Yeah. Amen to Pastor Leo.
And then he goes on to give the album its first 9 in tonight's session.
9 is okay.
But if a 9 is the lowest score, that album is incredible.
Nah, we got to jump in.
No, we gotta beat him up, bro. There's no varying opinions here, bro. A 9 is crazy. We're not allowed dissent here.
Shame.
Shame.
Yeah, it's a
It's a 9.
9 is alright for this album.
I also don't think Leo is given a 10 anyway. So
Yeah,
I think that might be his highest score anyway. So
Alright, that's a 10 from Leo.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously, like, replay value is like a million out of 10, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, 12 out of 10. One of the greatest albums of all time, an actual technical marvel of an album in terms of, like, feel, in terms of, like, the overall texture of every instrument. I can only dream of being as talented as D'Angelo was, like when he was like freaking 21 years old, playing like 10 instruments and sequencing, and just sequencing albums like this. Like, I can only imagine being in that room full of just like some of the greatest black creatives we've like ever seen, just under a creative renaissance, just like literally chilling out, watching movies, and just like smoking weed, chilling, and creating classics. Like, we may never get that again. And like, I think even Questlove said, we didn't even realize we were living history until we left it. Like, which is crazy.
It's crazy. And I feel like music like that don't get made no more because everybody got an ego now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You can never just be in a room, bunch of people just creating, and it's like, I want that song. No, I want that song.
Exactly.
Yeah, like,
people just want to like be the highest. Always
Yeah.
want to be on top. They don't want to share their creativity with others. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why music like that, we're not going to get much of it, if anything at all.
bro, D'Angelo was gonna give Common chicken grease, and it was so good he took it for his own album, and like that will cause a beef. And like today's age, it'll be like, you took my song.
Would you say that Common passed on his beat, he made it to a jam?
Everything he's not. We do need a Kanye album.
Bar alert. But yeah, bro. 10 out of 10 album. Like, we all loved it. Thank you for indulging in Voodoo with me. You can make a 5-hour long episode out of his album. And you can make an episode out of every single song. Like, it's just that deep, that textured, that complex, that layered. And yeah, I'm just happy to share such an important album to me, like, with you all, and hear y'all opinions on it. So thank you for entertaining me.
And with that, I want to thank you for listening to today's episode. Join us next week when we will be discussing.
Okay, so I heard a lot of you talk about the pillars of D'Angelo. One name I didn't hear today. This guy, one of my favorite artists, and I'm sure one of everybody's favorite artists. Somebody that I am manifesting will return in 2026. 10 years ago, he dropped a classic. It's called Blonde. So that's what we're doing. Whoa! That's right.
Oh wow, blonde episode.
You talk about.
Let's
Wait.
go.
The blonde episode.
Hey.
Yo. The original D'Angelo.
That's wild, rude. All right. So, Paris, what are your ideal music listening conditions?
Everywhere, every hour.
All at once, everywhere.
No, all right. Wait, I think my thing is off. I don't know. Okay, no, everywhere. Mainly just I want you to listen to this because it really this album has so many layers to it. Just listen to it when you're most vulnerable. When you can just like zone in and actually pay attention to every word, every sound, every lyric, every inflection, every video. Please look at the interviews. There's a magazine that you guys can look at, which I heavily encourage you. Find Boys Don't Cry. Just really lock in with it because there's a lot you probably missed that we're gonna dive into next session. But literally, this is one of the greatest albums of all time, and it would not be here without this album. So that's another reason why I wanted to pick it too.
I think it's so seasonal too. Like I think that album is gonna go crazy as like we go into spring. Oh my God, that's gonna go crazy.
I think my seasonal depression just got cured. Just thinking about it.
We are back, baby.
It's a 10 out of 10. I don't know.
And listen, I'll end with this. This is our manifestation of Mr. Frank Ocean to return. You're gonna return. I know he's gonna return. He's coming back.
Facts.
He's
Stop
coming
playing,
back.
Frank.
2026. We're gonna get a new album. I promise you.
Stop playing, Franklin.
I think it's Christopher, but whatever.
Franklin. Change his name to Franco.
And with that, I want to say good night. And remember, don't consume music. Let music consume you.